With the game on the line, Vince Young looks,
don't hold,
runs, throws, caught! It's caught for a touchdown by Timmy Britt.
Yeah, we had to play that one, huh, folks? Insanity over the play by Vince Sanity last Sunday in Tennessee. Heartbreaking loss for the Cardinals, losing on the last play of the game as Vince Young and the Titans marched down the field 99 yards on that final drive to win the game. Redbirds look to bounce back this week with a home game in prime time against the Minnesota Vikings and that Brett Favre. We're joined by FantasyFootballStarters.com, Russ Bliss. Thank you for joining us this morning. And when you talk about Week 13 in the NFL right now, you're talking about a lot of injuries.
Oh, yeah, there are a ton of injuries going on out there, and that's why we wanted to focus on that this week. Let's start with the quarterbacks. You look at Kurt Warner for the Arizona Cardinals. Kurt Warner's got the concussion, didn't play last week. He did split time in practice this week with Matt Leinart with the first team. He did practice in full, but he's going to be a game-time decision for tonight's game, and it all depends as to how he feels later on this afternoon as to whether or not he's going to start. Then you've also got Ben Roethlisberger with Pittsburgh. He missed last week with the concussion. He is probable on the injury report and is expected to be able to play tonight. Jake Delhomme for Carolina, he's out with a broken finger. Yeah. And Matt Ryan for the Atlanta Falcons, he's also out with the toe injury. And Jason Campbell, he suffered a head injury last week on the last offensive play of the game for Washington, but he's not listed on the injury report at all. Yeah. I'm kind of concerned about that one. I was a little surprised there with the NFL trying to crack down on these things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, okay, we got a head injury for Kurt, head injury for Roethlisberger, also head injury for Jason Campbell. How much of it is the players or the NFL just cracking down on concussions?
Well, the NFL definitely wants to crack down on concussions. They want to make sure that the player safety is something that's being taken into account for with all of the potential lawsuits that they're facing from the older players. And with the players, they're starting to realize that, you know what, we've got to be smarter about things. We've got to make sure that we're looking out for our long-term care as well. And if there's any type of symptoms right before game time, you got to let the team know. You can't be a tough guy and play through them.
Yeah, and that was last week. Kurt woke up, didn't feel well, and said, called it.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing with Ben Roethlisberger. They made the right decisions for them. I know some of their teammates weren't thrilled with it, but at the same time, this is the right decision for them, and they've got to look out for their best interest.
All right, we're talking about injuries to quarterbacks, but running backs are also beat up too.
Yeah, there's a lot of running backs, a lot of star running backs. You start off with DeAngelo Williams of the Carolina Panthers. He's questionable with the ankle sprain that he suffered last week. He's going to be a game-time decision. You got Steven Jackson with St. Louis taking on Chicago. He didn't practice at all this week. He's questionable and being called a game-time decision against Chicago tonight because of back spasms. You got Cincinnati's Cedric Benson. He's coming back. He's probable with the hip injury. He's missed the last 2 games. And Michael Turner for the Atlanta Falcons, he's questionable with an ankle injury. Then you've got guys like Sammy Morris of New England. He's questionable for tonight. Jamal Lewis for Cleveland. He's out for the rest of the season with a concussion.
Could
and
be
Mike Bell,
even season injury.
Yeah.
Career ending.
Yeah, it could be a career-ending injury. You got Mike Bell and Reggie Bush of the Saints. They're both expected to play, but neither one of them is completely healthy. Brian Westbrook and Clinton Portis, they've been out for weeks now with their concussion injuries. And 2 others, Tim Hightower for the Cardinals, he's got a thumb injury. He's questionable on the injury report, despite the fact that he practiced all this week. And then you've got Steve Slayton for the Houston Texans, expected to miss today's game because of a neck injury that he suffered. So there's a lot of injuries to key players in fantasy football.
Important to note, especially when you're talking fantasy football, those are the names that you take off your list and then you start kind of scurrying around to try to find somebody to fill that spot.
Yeah, and you pay attention to the game day inactives. They come out about an hour before the game starts, so that way you know exactly who's going to play that week and who's not going to play, and that way you can adjust your lineups at the last moment to try and get those guys in there. If Steven Jackson plays, you play him. If DeAngelo Williams is going to play, you play him. But if not, you got to be ready to insert somebody else into that lineup.
Keep your eye on the line, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Now let's talk about today's game because it's a huge game, and you know a lot of hype leading up to it. Brett Favre versus Kurt Warner, battle the old men out there. But other than that, I mean, both teams are excellent on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, when you look at the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Minnesota Vikings defense this week, first thing you want to look at is that the Vikings' run defense is one of the best in the NFL. They're second overall in the NFL in rushing yards allowed. They've only allowed 3 rushing touchdowns so far this season. So the Arizona Cardinals are going to have their work cut out for them trying to run the football. The way you attack the Minnesota Vikings is through the air. Now, their pass defense has gotten better in recent weeks, but the Cardinals are going to have to throw on them because the Vikings can score a lot of points, and you're going to be playing catch-up. They have to protect whoever the quarterback is, whether it's Matt Leinart or Kurt Warner. They have to protect him to give them that time because Jared Allen, second overall in the NFL in sacks this year with 12 and a half.
Beast. He is an absolute beast. Now, when you talk about the opposite side of the ball, Adrian Peterson, I mean, the guy is on fire. He's quick, and he also got a citation for being fast this week, speeding on the roadways.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson, third overall in the NFL in rushing. He's already rushed for over 1,000 yards in 11 games so far this year. And Adrian Peterson, 12 rushing touchdowns, second most by a running back this year. The Cards' rush defense has allowed 150 yards rushing on average and has allowed 3 rushing touchdowns in each of their last 3 games. So the Cardinals are going to have their hands full. They did a good job last week except for one play against Chris Johnson. But Adrian Peterson, he's not just fast, he's big. He can run you over, he can run around you. He's just an amazing running back.
What about, and Brett Favre, he always plays up to the game. I mean, this is a big game for him.
Brett Favre has been incredible this season. He's thrown 24 touchdown passes, only 3 interceptions. Would you believe that Adrian Peterson has lost more fumbles than Brett Favre has thrown interceptions this year? It's been absolutely outstanding, and he's got good weapons to throw to. Sidney Rice is third in the NFL in receiving yards. The rookie Percy Harvin has proven to be a really good big play threat. The only way you beat Brett Favre is by getting pressure on him. Try and get him flustered back there in that pocket. But that offensive line for the Minnesota Vikings is very good. Very few teams have been able to put a hand on Brett Favre this year.
And we know that he turns into the magician when you put a lot of pressure on him. He can pull some rabbits out the hat, that's for sure. Let's talk about this free offer for the folks out there who are registered to your site.
Well, fantasyfootballstarters.com. Anyone that's watching right now, go to our website, register, just register only at fantasyfootballstarters.com, and then email me, Russ at fantasyfootballstarters.com. I'll give you a free upgrade to our Power Player package that includes all of your ability to do the lineup analyzer, the trade analyzer, the team analyzer, and of course be able to post your messages on our forums and also get our smart alerts that let you know about the last-minute changes that happen all throughout the week in the NFL.
You have a prediction tonight, Vikings versus Cards?
I really want the Cardinals to win. You can tell by the tie that I'm wearing. I've got my Cardinals tie on. I want them to win so bad. It's an important game, but really, Minnesota has just been so hot. I kind of like the Vikings to win this game, but I'm cheering for the Cards.
All right, you sold out your tie, Russ. Thanks. Always a pleasure.